Here we have a list of fragrances that I've been enjoying over the past few summer months. I feel like we're over the hump now, where we'll certainly have many hot days ahead. You can start feeling a larger difference between the day and night temperature, and I really love that, where you have cooler evenings, allows the house to cool down, and it starts to feel like, okay, I can do this, I can survive the rest of summer until we get cooler days, especially here in hot, muggy New York City. So I've got a mixture here of some older all-time classics to my wardrobe with some new releases. I have one big surprise, maybe, if you know me and you know my taste. I considered making a clickbaity title. I haven't decided yet, so we'll see when you're watching this if I did, but I apologize for that. First, a all-time classic, Frederic Malle Bigarade Concentré. One of the reasons I'm using this so much, besides utterly enjoying it, is I kind of want to use up this little bottle. I'm considering swapping it out for a large bottle of the Cologne Bigarade, which is a lot harder to find. It's lighter. They smell pretty much the same to me, but I kind of just want to see, just for the variety, and see if that one wears better in summer. This certainly wears great in summer, but it does have a rather spicy, almost like hay-like, some people say amber, but I've never gotten amber in the base of this, but it's definitely a warmer dry down. That isn't always the best thing in a really hot day. Some of the spices can come off as sweaty. They don't really to me, but I've had this reaction from others. So I just thought it would be nice to switch this out, since it's a scent I know so well, and try the Cologne Bigarade. I have tested that at store. It smelled pretty much the same, but with a less heavy, less spicy base, which is more or less what you expect. But probably my favorite orange fragrance. I don't like overly realistic glass of orange juice fragrances. I have a little Travel from Atelier Colognes. Theirs is probably the most realistic, but this is the most realistic that still wears like a beautiful fragrance. It's got those spices that give sort of longevity to a lot of Elena's otherwise light compositions. Next up, something that is not new at all, but is new to my wardrobe, Amouage Jubilation XXV. This was one of the first fragrances I tried from the house years and years ago, probably over 10 years ago. At the time, I was really into Comme des Garçons, and I think I had like Bertrand Duchefort was really making his mark on a lot of fragrance houses, and I smelled it, and at the time it was my favorite Amouage, but I felt like I've smelled this profile a lot, I don't really need it. One of the reasons it was my favorite Amouage then, and maybe still now, is it's probably the least heavy and the lightest Amouage. And I'm not one who really loves ultra complex or ultra heavy or ultra dense fragrances. So this one stuck out as probably the simplest and easiest to wear fragrance. So it's a little confusing to me that it's also so iconic for the brand. Again, I would agree that it's a great fragrance, but it's also kind of an outlier in terms of its weight and composition. There have been a lot of complaints about reform. What kind of stepped me back into the door of Jubilation was getting Jubilation 40, which I really like. Has also kind of, it's dry enough you can wear it in summer, and I have worn it in summer, but I had a sample of this and I started to feel like, you know what, I want both options. Jubilation 25 is obviously a lot lighter. It's almost like a frankincense cologne, which is as great as it sounds. Light, airy, dry, but I actually had really good performance from it. Of course, in a super light, airy, wispy way, but it stuck around getting these little frankincense wafts all day easily. So no doubt it's extremely light, especially if you're used to the heavy-handed, dense, complex creations from Amouage, but it's right up my alley, and almost nothing can beat that amazingly juicy blackcurrant opening. So this is a brand new bottle, and for my taste, for my money, it's in fantastic shape, and I would highly recommend it. Next up, one that is an all-time banger classic to me for summer, Rose Ikebana from Hermes. I had the travel size of most Hermes before buying the whole bottle. I've worn through 2 of those. I have a ton of sample vials. I've just got little bits and bobs of Rose Ikebana all over the house. It never fails to bring a smile to my face. I hate the term hug in a bottle. Is there a more disgusting string of words in the English language? But this is a smile in a bottle. God, I apologize. But it's so uplifting, so nice. It's got like a surprisingly biting, spicy pepper aspect to it. Again, those spices of Jean-Claude Elena and the sort of woody ISO-E creates a long-lasting halo. while the sort of juicy grapefruit rose subsides. Again, depends on your taste. Very airy, very wispy, very light, but you can smell it all day. You get traces of it all day. And unlike some heavy, dense perfumes, it wafts. It moves around the body, it moves around the air. It doesn't just stick in a like dense lump on your skin. Beautiful, beautiful, uplifting, amazing fragrance. Extremely unisex because it's just very clean, very fresh, very peppery. If you're afraid of rose, don't be afraid to try this. Next up, let's go with another new one and also a controversy. It's kind of funny. My pal Rich Mitch, who I don't know in person, but Fragcom pal, had a discussion about this. I got Orange Sirocco. If you saw my impressions of Les Indomptables, I appreciate the brand, but I'm not overly sold on any one of the fragrances to really make me want to run out and buy one. This was one of my favorites just because I'm a fiend for orange blossom. Although like many of the fragrances, I found it a little bit simple, smelling really nice. There's sort of an addictive warmth to this that I think really portrays this sort of orange glow over the desert kind of feeling. And I thought, well, I like the perfume. The X-ray is cheaper, although it's a much smaller amount. Maybe I just like to have a little bit of X-ray around, and maybe the thicker concentration will make it a little more interesting. And indeed it did. I do find that I like this a little better than the spray, and it is good for layering. I had the idea, since I found it a little bit simple, to layer it because I have quite a few orange blossom themed fragrances, many of which are more kind of fresh and soapy. So several times, don't hate me, I layered it with Off-White. Now you might think, what is this man of great taste and sophistication doing with an Off-White bottle? I have talked about this in a previous episode, but I was a fan of Louis Vuitton's original Sun Song, and just as I had decided to finally buy it, it was discontinued and completely disappeared. Around the same time Off-White released their line of fragrances, I was in the store and I smelled this and I said, oh, that's awfully like Sun Song. With a very kind and generous person who was standing next to me noted this comment, and the upcoming Christmas or birthday, what did appear as a gift to me but this? So it was very kindly gifted, and I do like it. I do appreciate it. And I mention it because these have since hit discounters for very good prices. I think as a designer exclusive range, they're pretty much doing the same thing as Louis Vuitton, now at discounter for about a quarter of the price. They're generally not overly adventurous. Many of them are derivative of popular fragrance styles, like there's a Santal 33 dupe, but they sort of have that designer plus feel to them, where they're like happy, easy to like, easy to wear fragrances, but have a little bit extra that elevates them from the sort of Sephora crowd. So this is a fresh orange blossom, very musky. I'm sure it's got loads of ambroxan in there. It's got a little bit of that sort of like typical designer appealing whatever mixture of musks in it, but I still enjoy it. I wear it a lot because it's an easy wear, and I've been wearing it over Orange Sirocco, and it's actually been a really nice combination. Orange Sirocco does work on its own, and these X-rays are quite nice, like quite a good value, because you just need a couple rubs on the skin, and it does last and it does project, at least for this one. I've not tried the rose, although I'm curious. I have tried the vanilla, and I was a little meh about it. So moving on to another one. This is a little redundant, but I did really enjoy when I wore it. Maison Francis Kurkdjian Petit Matin. The best from the line, in my opinion, one I've had for a while, but very much in this genre. It sort of has that strong, musky base, but it's warm, it's clean, it's got a really sharp, invigorating lemon in the opening that I appreciate. So it's just right up my alley. But if you're not into lemons, if you're not into musky, ambroxan-y, orange blossom-y, floral summer fragrances, you are not going to like this. But I think it's one of the best done in the genre, and it always is an extremely enjoyable wear. It's time for the surprise. This brand, I'm sort of agnostic about it. Like, I don't acknowledge its existence because it's such a boring topic. But I've tried many of them because it is so hyped by many through the years. I've wanted to understand what it's all about. My general takeaway is they kind of smell like office worker fragrances. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not my lifestyle and that's not my vibe. But on a very hot day, I had retreated to the World Trade Center Mall, which has the very strange fragrance.com boutique. Love a boutique with a .com in the name. I assume is related to fragrancenet.com. I sprayed myself with this and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Creed's original Vetiver. It was just like the tonic my body and soul needed for that hot. It was 100-degree Fahrenheit plus humid New York day. And I immediately thought, I need to buy this. I looked on discounters. I found it on discounters. I bought it. I actually intentionally went with the newest version because I had tried this previously, and there's something in some Creed dry downs that reads a little bit like Axe body spray deodorant. I think it's the kind of talked about ambergris accord, which apparently once upon a time was magnificent, later was not so good. I think there's been a thing of them they've swapped hands a few times and maybe production. I'm not one to chase batches, but in this case, I liked what I tried, so I wanted to buy exactly what I tried. There was an older version available for more on the same discounter, and I didn't buy that on purpose because I liked this. It's compared to Mugler Cologne. When I saw that, I thought, well, that wasn't my experience. What are people talking about? And then I got the bottle, I sprayed it, and I thought, oh yeah, it's Mugler Cologne. But it is better. It's Mugler Cologne plus Vetiver. Mugler Cologne kind of has almost just like a watery green base to it that feels very, very kind of airy and like almost empty, like nothing in the center. Here, Vetiver is kind of the perfect choice to give something a little more solid to the core of the perfume. It is extremely light, but the Vetiver smell does stick to skin and provide a nice sort of vetiver-y sheen to the skin wherever you sprayed it. But on a really hot day, this is just so, so good. I really like it. Highly, highly recommend it. And see, everyone can overcome biases. But again, I think I had given Creed a fair shake. I had tried them all with an open mind. I just didn't like most of them. And the new releases they've come out with are very bad in my opinion. But some of the classics are worth kind of going out there and exploring, especially since they're pretty easy to find at least half price on discounter. Would never pay whatever they charge, $500 for this. Obscene. It is a light, easy wearing, greenish, light vetiver cologne, and that's kind of all. But it's very nice and well done. Okay, on to, that was new. So here's something not so new. I have the bottle tucked away, I'm sorry, but it's from a bell jar of Serge Lutens à la Nuit. I have to be honest, I actually haven't worn it that much, but I wore it just a couple days ago and it was really, really nice. I kind of assumed it's a bit delicate. It's a very dewy, green, fresh take on jasmine, which feels more like a spring or fall, in between weather kind of scent. I felt like it's a little bit delicate of a scent profile for hot and heavy summer, but I was just in the mood for jasmine. I was thinking about Sarah San, which I don't have, and I thought, well, I should wear the jasmine I do have before I consider another purchase. And it really worked. It held up. The green freshness kind of lasted through the day. I sprayed quite a lot more than I'm used to, just to give it some legs because I was out in the city. Got an angry honker outside. And it really worked nicely in the heat. Again, still feels more like a spring fragrance, but I just enjoyed that wear so much. I felt like it was worth talking about. And as a reminder to myself to wear this some more as summer continues. Two more. We've got, again, a new-ish purchase, maybe a half a year ago. I think I got it around in winter. There was news of its discontinuation. Frenchy Lavande from Guerlain. Again, a really great, invigorating lavender, soapy lavender fougere. What I like about it, I usually don't like overly classic or sort of retro or vintage leaning scents. It's a take on a vintage scent profile, but I think it's modernized just enough to make it interesting and to make it feel current. The base of this one isn't mossy. It's not coumarinic. You don't get the tonka. You don't get vanilla with lavender. It's more sort of like a peppery musk, but the twist, which I really like, is verbena. So it has this really nice, ultra fresh, lemony verbena, tea-like mixed with lavender, mixed with this sort of peppery, slightly woody, slightly shaving foam dry down. It's really nice. It's as close to kind of classic 1950s man as I will ever smell, but I needed something like this in my wardrobe. Healy's Clone Officinal would be a close contender for this, and a lot cheaper and still available, although they don't smell the same at all, just sort of a similar concept. But really enjoyable wear in the summertime. And last up, a brand I've never talked about on this channel because it's fairly hard to come by in the States. It was at Saks. I had a friend at Saks who gave me a bunch of samples when it launched. Then it moved to Nordstrom, who had an exclusive, and it was sort of a sad, unvisited little shelf at Nordstrom. Then Nordstrom took everything off the shelf because apparently they had nothing to sell. Because I went in asking for a tester of this before I purchased it, and they had it in the drawer, but they said they had no bottles. And then French department store Printemps opened up in downtown New York City, which is pretty close to me, and they have the whole line. So it's my first time, like a kid in the candy store, sort of having access to everything from this Givenchy line. I feel like it's right down the middle. It's better than many designer exclusives, but like most designer exclusives, it's massively overpriced and not all that special. But I have to be honest, I was interested in this only because it had appeared on discounters where none of the line had before. But I also am very cognizant of the trap of buying something just because it's on a discounter. But it turned out this was an orange blossom, and I like orange blossom, and it's sort of an orange blossom and oud. And it turns out after trying much of the line, this is probably my favorite from the line. You could say it's retrospective reasoning. After I find it on discount, I find an excuse to like it the best, but I truly, truly enjoy it. It is a kind of deep, heady, woody, slightly smoky orange blossom sandalwood. What's interesting is the first time I sprayed it at the store, I just thought, oh, this is just an orange blossom. Where's the oud? But as I've worn it more and more, I really do detect the oud, a woodiness, a heft in the base, which can be nice because it's not overly heavy, but it can stand up to kind of higher heat and humidity. But it's also the kind of perfume that will work really well in fall and winter. But yeah, it's just really well done. Some of their other oudy fragrances, also, I think they're contenders with like a Louis Vuitton oud. Maybe they're a little bit less modern, but they're also maybe a little more realistic smelling. I do believe they use at least a pinch of real oud in most of these. And it certainly smells like it, having experienced other floral ouds like the Lost in Flowers from Strangelove. It's maybe not as dense and rich and heady as that one, but they're in the same genre, I would say. But I really like this Faux Semblant. Yeah, smoky, oudy, orange blossom. What can you not love about that if you love orange blossom like I do? So those are the fragrances I've been wearing this summer. Several I saw in my cabinets that I thought I want to wear, but I would be lying if I said I did wear them. So have to kind of appreciate what I have more, maybe be less distracted by samples and shop my wardrobe. But I've been pretty good about not buying too many new things in the past few months. So yeah, that's it. Hope you're enjoying your summer, and we'll see you in fall.